Okay, I think we are good to go. So good morning, everyone. My name's Baz Khinda. I'm a long-term Microsoft project consultant, having been in the space since around 2009 and having started my PMO career back in 2005. So today we're going to be talking about what's next after Project Online, and we'll be providing a solution deep dive around the Accelerator Plus and the brand new Microsoft Planner Premium solution and see what that's all about. I'm not by myself today. I've got a couple of colleagues. Bradley, would you like to say a quick hello?
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Brad. I've been at Wellingtone for the last 2 years as a client manager, and I work with clients every day to help them get the best results out of our services. So thank you for joining along today. Put any of your questions in the Q&A chat, and I'll answer those as we go, and we'll also cover them off at the end.
Excellent. Sarah.
Hi all, my name's Sarah NG. I've been with Wellingtone nearly 4 years now. Work alongside Bradley doing account management. Some of you may know me, and it's wonderful to see people here today. We'll be answering questions throughout the webinar. Please don't hesitate to ask anything.
Brilliant. So we have got a couple of other colleagues with us as well who are going to remain off camera, but that's Hannah Francis. She will be adding a variety of links, to the chat window as we progress with this session. There's also Nicole Long, who's going to be there monitoring all the chatter that's going on generally. But as Bradley and Sarah signposted, there is a Q&A panel at the very top of Microsoft Teams. If you've got any questions, please post your questions there, and we will have a live Q&A session at the end. But without any further delay, I'm just going to turn my camera off, and we can then really focus on the presentation. So again, today we are looking at what is beyond Project Online. What does the future look like? Before I get on to that topic, I'm just going to take a step back and talk a bit about Wellington. So Wellington as a company, we've been going since 2001. And we've got three primary service areas. That's technology, which is, of course, the focus for today. Consultancy and training. You can learn a lot more by going to one of our respective websites. That's either wellington.co.uk, wellington.com, or wellington.es, depending on where you are in the world. On the technology side, we've been a Microsoft Gold certified project and portfolio management partner since 2009. And last year, we were recognized as being one of the top 4 partners globally. So that's us in a nutshell. And here's a list of some of the organizations that we've been fortunate enough to have supported over the last 20 or so years. We've got lots of case studies on the website, over 50 at the last count. So again, go to the website, have a look at some of those stories, many of which do relate specifically to the topic for today, which is all about the Accelerator Plus. And we've got multiple locations, so no matter where you are in the world, we can absolutely support. Okay, so before I do start showcasing the Accelerator Plus, I do want to take a step back and just look at the recent announcement again from Microsoft. So we all know the Project Online is retiring, and many people ask the question, well, why? Why is it retiring? Well, the reason for that is that it's built on legacy architecture, which is actually underpinned by SharePoint 2013. And going forward, Microsoft's focus is very much around the brand new Planner Premium and, of course, Copilot, which some of you might have some exposure to already. Now, until next September, so September the 30th, 2026, Project Online is going to keep functioning as it does right now, with one caveat. So by the end of April 2026, workflows within the enterprise project types that you might be using to control your phases and your stages, they will cease to function. And after September 2026, Project Online, it's no longer going to be available. It's going to be shut down. And when you go to the PWA URL, you will find that there's nothing there. So we'll talk about how you can address this going forward as I progress with this presentation. But one thing I do want you to think about is timescales. Now, when I say September 2026, the immediate reaction of many people is going to be, well, that's ages away. That's next year. We've got almost a year to plan and move to something else. Well, yes, we've got a bit of time, but the thing that you've got to remember is that there's multiple stages involved. Discovery and design, solution build, there's migration and testing, depending on the approach you want to take. And all of this takes time. And if you're looking for assistance from somebody like us, well, we've got a lot of organizations coming back to us, asking us to help them move from Project Online either to Project Server Subscription Edition or to the Accelerator Plus. So there's a backlog of organizations that's building up. And if you think about the typical timeline for a deployment, I mean, I've said here that it's between 3 to 6 months. That's assuming that we're doing a migration, but a greenfield deployment of a new solution could maybe only take a couple of months. But you need to start planning for it today, not in March, not in July, definitely not in August next year, because by then, well, you're really cutting yourself short and you're not going to have much time available. So if you are looking to make the move, you need to start planning straight away. And when we talk about moving, there's of course a couple of options, and I've talked about Project Server Subscription Edition, which provides a like-for-like user experience to Project Online. However, the preferred option for many organizations is going to be to move to the new modern platform that is underpinned by Microsoft Planner Premium, the new scheduling engine, and the Accelerator Plus. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about now. Taking a step back, let's review some of the terminology with the technology. So I've mentioned Planner Premium on several occasions already, but today, in certain instances, we are still using or seeing Microsoft Project for the Web. So the scheduling engine that was released back in 2018, 2019, almost as a successor to Project Desktop. In the coming weeks and the coming months, that is morphing into Planner Premium. The biggest difference is not really in terms of UI, because it looks still identical to what you're using within Project for the Web. The biggest difference is the fact that it comes embedded with Copilot integration within the schedule, which I will be demonstrating a bit later, but for all intents and purposes, still looks the same. Now, if I think of around the design philosophy that Microsoft have had, it's quite different to what you experience with Project Online. With Project Online, Microsoft gave you an all-in-one solution with a ton of capability within it, and that just had to be configured and set up for you to use. With a new wave of tools, it's slightly different. What Microsoft are giving you are a lot of jigsaw pieces that you've got to piece together. We, of course, help you to do that. So Planner Premium is your scheduling engine. It's the equivalent of Microsoft Project Desktop. It's entirely browser-based, and it looks really nice, and we'll be showcasing that a bit later. To give you the wider capability that you currently enjoy within Project Online today, which is really the capability you would have within PWA and the project sites, well, we use the Microsoft Power Platform, primarily Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power BI, which again, some of you will already be using, but we use all of that capability under the Power Platform to deliver a all-encompassing end-to-end project and portfolio management solution. On screen, you can see some examples of the capability that we can deploy, but it's highly configurable. No matter what functionality you want within your bespoke solution, we configure, we can deploy, so it's highly bespoke. Again, as a starter for 10, the Accelerator Plus is the starting point for all of our deployments. So everybody starts with the same base level Accelerator Plus, and on top of that is where we add your bespoke element, shall we say. So to wrap this up, just before I get into the demo, if I think about the Accelerator Plus, again, it extends Planner Premium to provide you with an AI-ready PMO solution. It's also something that can be customized and extended. I'll talk more about this during the live demo itself, but it is something that's also deployed inside of your M365 tenants, exactly in the same way as you would have with Project Online. And importantly, it only requires native Microsoft licensing, much of which you will already have in place. And that's an important point that I will come back to a bit later. Now, if I think about some of the key benefits that the Accelerator Plus offers over and above Project Online, I would say the user experience for me really stands out. It's much more modern, less complex, and it's more inviting. And that's really been the feedback from a lot of our existing customers. Something that people are increasingly wanting to do is to have a solution that integrates with Teams. Well, tick, we can do that with the Accelerator Plus and with Planner Premium. One of my bugbears with Project Online and even Project Server prior to that was that it was a little bit siloed in terms of user experience. You had PWA, which is where you might have some of your projects, your PDPs, and it's where you've got your project center view. But then on a per project basis, you had to go to the project sites in order to access your documentation, RAID logs, or other associated artifacts. So for me, the user experience was slightly disjointed. With the new Accelerator Plus experience, it's a single layer, and that I will demonstrate a bit later. Workflows I talked about within Project Online, they are going to be deprecated by April 2026. But even without that, in absence of that, if I stand back and reflect on the capability that's available, it's a little bit static. It's not very dynamic. It's not super interactive. The workflows and the business processes generally with the new experience are really much improved, and that I will be demonstrating shortly. And reduced licensing for wider users. And the users that I'm really thinking about are team members to whom within Project Professional or within obviously Project Online, you might have assigned a task to them from within the schedule. You want that person to get an email alert. You want that person to maybe log in, provide an update against the task. In order to do all of that with Project Online, they've got to have a license. They've got to have what is Project Plan 1 or Planner Plan 1 now in order to be able to do that as a minimum. Whereas with the Accelerator Plus or with Planner Premium specifically, you don't need that kind of licensing. As long as you've got E1, E3, E5, and even other plans are also supported. So that's worth bearing in mind. And licensing, again, I will talk about a bit later. Right, I'm going to talk about the next step now. And the next step is very much around Copilot AI integration. Many organizations are starting to embrace Copilot. I'm sure you're already using it or you want to be able to use it. And wouldn't it be nice if you could use that within the context of your project and portfolio management solution? Well, with the Accelerator Plus, with Planner Premium, you can. And that I will be demonstrating at a high level today. But we do on Thursday have another upcoming webinar where we are going to be doing a real deep dive around AI within the context of the modern project and portfolio management platform from Microsoft. So that brings me on to the live demo. The live demo is going to be broken down into a few specific segments. I'm going to provide a general overview of Planner Premium and the Accelerator Plus as a start of a 10 to really focus on the UI and some of the standout enhancements compared to Project Online. Throughout the demo, I'm also going to demonstrate aspects of Copilot, and then I will wrap up with a brief overview of reporting. However, the good news here is that if you like reporting in Project Online, as you currently have it within the context of Power BI, it's pretty much the same with the new wave of tools that we are going to be showcasing. So let me just end this slide deck, and what I'm going to do is jump to my demo environment. What I might do first of all is actually just dive in from the context of the Accelerator Plus. So here we are on the homepage of this modern day take on what you would otherwise call Project Online. The homepage, you will notice that we've tried to mimic as far as possible what we can do with Project Online. And by that, what I'm talking about are the navigation tiles and also the highlights around the end user metrics. So here, in a similar way to what I would normally see within PWA, I can see my assignments, I can see my actions, my risks, my issues, and other elements. And these are interactive. So if I want to drill down, I can drill down really quickly and see a breakdown of all the projects that I've been assigned to. And against the project names, I can also see in the brackets the number of tasks I've been assigned. And I could drill down again, go into the project plan and provide those updates. In addition to that, I can also see various charts and dials being displayed on the homepage. These are bespoke. These can be customized to suit your requirements. And to illustrate that, rather than reporting the percentage of projects on time or those on budget or those that are green, we can focus on the things that are not going according to plan. And we could also, again, make those elements interactive and people would be able to click into them and drill down, look at that data. And I'll wrap up by very quickly showcasing here the fact that we can display all of the upcoming milestones linked to the user that's logged in to the environment. If I open up the menu on the left-hand side, again, you will see that we've tried to mimic as far as possible the quick launch menu that you've got access to within Project Online. With that being said, we've got the pipeline, we've got live views of the project portfolios, very similar to the project center view that you've got currently in Project Online. We've got access to the reporting in Power BI. We also then have our RAID log items as well. And we've got other management artifacts that are being displayed on that list and I will be going through most of these as we progress through the demo. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight into the list of the projects to demonstrate what is in effect the project center. And that's what we're looking at right now. And just as within Project Online, you've got the ability to go in and look at different layouts, different views. It's really no different. I'm currently looking at all active projects, but if I wanted to focus on a cost orientated view, that's fine. We're now seeing lots of cost related information. If I perhaps want to focus on just my active projects, I can get access to a condensed view of projects. But this is also displaying some of the outputs of my status update. And we can see the various red, amber, green indicators being visualized there on the homepage. And talking of KPIs, again, it's not very dissimilar to Project Online. These KPIs could either be set manually or calculated based upon baseline and variance wherever it's possible to demonstrate that. If I just go back to the main view of all active projects, I'll talk very quickly through the columns that we're seeing here. We're seeing the names of the projects, as you would expect, but we can also see the names of the project managers. This is a dummy environment, so not all of these users are, of course, logged in, but otherwise, if they were, you would see their team's presence information and you would be able to strike up those conversations. We're also able to go in and very easily edit the views as well. So if I want to bespoke my personal view and bring in any of the columns that exist within the environment, I can do that. Really easy to do that. Closing out of this, what I'm actually going to do now is drill down into an active initiative. We are going to go into this one. It's the COO Health Assessment Tool project that we're looking at the moment. And I'll talk through the view generally, and then pretty soon I'll navigate towards the project plan itself. So this is, again, not dissimilar to what you would do within Project Online. You click into a project, and when you drill down into it, normally on the left-hand side, what you would have is a list of all of the options that you've got for that project. You might see the business case, the PDPs, the schedule, whereas here, the layout slightly updated. We've got a list of tabs that we will navigate through shortly. But again, notice that these are on a single layer. It's not giving me an option to go to the project site, which is where some of the options might otherwise be available. It's a single layer. Everything is accessible straight away just by clicking into it. And it's all reportable. We've got no reporting limitations. If I start here at the top though, there's the project title. And beneath that, I've got this visualization of the workflow or the project lifecycle for this particular project. And I talked about the workflow within your enterprise project types that you've got within Project Online, which is where you might see your phase, you might see your stage, but they're not really interactive. Here, it's a bit different. If I click into any one of these stages, you can see that we've got an interactive checklist that we can go in and complete. And behind the scenes, we can apply different templates. So in the same way as within Project Online, you can define your enterprise project types, we can do the same thing here, but we've got a few more options. And to demonstrate that, if we look at this example form here, you can see that I've selected a project type, enhancement. Beyond this, you might have small, medium, or large projects. We've simplified this to say it's high or low. And if I switch to low, keep an eye on this workflow at the top, what you are going to see is that one of the stages, I think it's feasibility actually, is going to be taken away, and it is, and we simplify the governance framework for this particular project. So again, that's the kind of thing that we can do here within the Accelerator Plus that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do within your PDPs with Project Online. I won't talk through the forms or the fields because again, it's very similar to what you can do generally within your PDPs, within Project Online, within PWA. But I'll cycle through some of the tabs. So there's a business case page where we can build some narrative around the proposed project. We can also help with project prioritization in a number of ways. This is a very simple depiction of how we might do this. We can define high-level categories for you to then define your strategic drivers against, and we can then enable scoring against these drivers. And this is only an example of how we might do this, but we've got, again, multiple options to be able to support this. If you want to track your costings, we can support the capture of your costs either at a high level, as you see there with the cost summary, or we can do something a bit more sophisticated via the cost tracker plugin, whereby you're able to then categorize your cost, capture details like PO numbers, cost center details, and commentary but we've also got the ability then to define budgets, forecast, actuals on a monthly basis. So various options. When it comes to documentation, it's still underpinned by SharePoint. And what we can do within this environment is drop in the link to our document library, and we can then go in and interact with the assets that sit within it. Resource management, I'm going to come back to a bit later, but one of the things you might be waiting to see is the scheduling side. I'm going to come back to that in just a couple of minutes. I'll very quickly, in the meantime, demonstrate things like risk logs. So there's my risk log for this particular project. Now, once you've seen one log, you've seen them all, so I won't again go through all of the other logs, but there's my risk log. I can see them all listed out. I can see their statuses, who they're assigned to, but we can bespoke these views as required. If I go into one of these risks that's already been onboarded, the platform deprecation or platform being deprecated soon, if I drill down into that, you can see the makeup of this risk log. And I've said this a few times, but it's not really dissimilar to what you've got in Project Online. Yes, the UI has been updated to some extent, but for all intents and purposes, the fields still behave in the same way. There are a couple of benefits here, though. So as well as capturing all of the general details as you can do currently, we can, of course, score the risks as well. But if I move to the bottom, in addition to being able to capture your risk response through these commentary fields, we've also got the ability now to convert a risk into an issue. So if this risk has now materialized and we need to track it as an issue, we can simply say, yes, it's now converting into an issue. We save this item and it automatically creates a associated issue, but still shows you the source risk. And I know that this was a highly requested feature by many of our customers, where they wanted the ability to be able to do that so that they weren't having to duplicate entry or retype information in. We couldn't do it technically with Project Online, but here we can absolutely do this kind of thing. Saving and closing out of this, I'm going to now go to, I guess, the scheduling interface. So clicking into the task view, I can see my project plan. Technically today, this is Microsoft Project for the Web. This will soon convert into Planner Premium. I am going to show you Planner Premium as well in just a few minutes, but there's my schedule. I can view this through the grid layout, which is, I guess, the most traditional view that we provide. We can also switch to a timeline view, which gives me this really nice Gantt chart layout. And this is interactive, by the way, so if I need to extend something out, if I need to reschedule an item, if I need to maybe go in and create a brand new link or dependency, I can do all of that, okay? But I can also view my plan through the board view, and there's multiple layouts available here. So I'm looking at group by progress, which is one of the standard out-of-the-box views. It gives me 3 buckets, whereby I can see all of the tasks grouped by those that are not started, those that are in progress, and those that are now completed. And if I drill down into any one of these items, you can see that we can populate much more detail against any one of these tasks, which is quite nice. And by the way, if I make a change here in the board view, that change will also be visible in the grid and the timeline. So one update, but it carries across and it cascades through to all of the other views. What we can also do, however, is rather than viewing the schedule embedded within the Accelerator Plus, we can open it up full screen. So let me just go back to the grid view. Let me open this up in Planner. I'm actually going to bring this out as a separate tab. So this is the same schedule that I can see within the Accelerator Plus, but what's really nice is anything that I do here carries across to the view that's embedded within the Accelerator. So I will very quickly mark all of the definition tasks as being completed, and you saw that carrying across there. I'll now do the same with planning, but if you keep an eye on this, you will see that that change cascades through. And the reason that it does this is that behind the scenes, there's only one project plan. So it doesn't matter where you make the edit, that carries across. But this also gives me the ability now to demonstrate some of the brand new capability the Copilot's offering. So if I open up this chat window, which positions the AI Project Manager agent, you'll see that it's going to give me some predefined prompts. And because this plan's already been built, I'm going to keep things really simple. I'm going to ask the system to help me understand the project and to give me a status report for this plan. I'm going to click on that, and that's pre-populated this prompt. I'm going to fire this away. It's now working on it, but pretty soon it's going to start feeding back to us the status update for this project. Whilst we're waiting for this, don't forget that you can ask questions. You might already be asking questions via the Q&A window. If you haven't posted a question already, then please do. Brad and Sarah are waiting in the wings. They're responding to questions as they crop up. We are also going to be doing a live Q&A session at the very end. Copilot, or the project manager agent, pretty soon populate the response into the window, and it is doing that for us now. So there's the current status report for the plan. It's provided a very high level plan overview. It's outlined some of the structure, but it's also highlighting key progress highlights, active and upcoming tasks. It's also looking at some of the goal information that you can optionally capture within Planner Premium as well. But it's given us a bit of an overview of the schedule. I'm also going to ask another question, and this is very much in relation to, does Copilot perceive there are any risks that are going to prevent us from completing this project on time? So are there any risks that might impact the finish date for the project? Let's fire this away. And again, it's working on it. So again, I'll remind you that you can ask questions through the Q&A panel. We will be doing live Q&A, and I think we'll be doing that within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So we've not really got that much longer to go. But look, I asked if there were any risks to complete this project on time, and it has listed out a whole variety of things that we could go in and look at in detail. Saying as I'm looking at Copilot now already, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the standard window there, go into my plans, and I'm actually going to create a brand new plan. So new plan, please help us create a new plan. And what I'm going to do is plan with the Project Manager AI assistant. And this time we're going to have a blank schedule. So let's call this Beyond Project Online. If I could spell beyond, that would be a good start, wouldn't it? So, okay, Beyond Project Online, we are going to add this to the Wellingtone Office 365 group. It's already been pre-established. And by the way, this links into security. So when I link a project plan to a group, it's only the members of that group that can then view the plan. And there's more to security within the Accelerator Plus, especially where we can establish things like role-based access. But here I've got a blank schedule. There's nothing in place whatsoever. I'm going to go into the Project Manager agent, and I'm going to ask it to build me a plan. And because we are talking about Project Online, I'm going to ask Copilot to build us a schedule for that particular scenario. So we are going to migrate from Project Online to the Wellingtone Accelerator Plus Power App. Can you build a plan for this? This is a question, believe it or not, that I've never ever asked Copilot to do before. I've got some pre-made examples that I will also demonstrate shortly, but you can see that it's understood the assignment and it is now building a schedule on that ask. I'm going to close this window down. You can see that it started breaking down the high-level plan, so project initiation and planning, requirements gathering and analysis, solution design, customization. There's so many things in there that I can start now working on as a human being. I could start assigning this work to actual individuals. I might start specifying dates for the start, certainly. But if I go to the board view, there's a couple of things that I want to highlight. One, the solution has broken all of this down into specific buckets. It might also have defined high-level goals, and it has. It's talking about achieving a specific percentage of user adoption and completion migration of all Project Online data and workflows. So it's specified some high-level goals, but the real value add for me is, as well as building the schedule, there's another party trick that we can bring into play. And if I go to this view, I'm going to start assigning work to the virtual agent. So I'm assigning work now to the project manager Copilot agent. I'm going to see if there's any others that I might want to bring in. Develop data migration scripts. Okay. So we've assigned a couple of tasks now to the project manager agent. The project manager agent is now working on that. And pretty soon it will have completed those tasks. Now, if it needs to ask us more questions, it's going to kick these tasks into this bucket, which is needs your input, in which case I will be prompted to respond to certain questions. But if it's completed the bulk of the work, it will kick that task into ready for review. What I'm going to do for the sake of time is open up my plans. We will go back to this when we get a little prompt to say that the task's been completed. Last week, I created another schedule in the same way. I wanted Copilot or the project manager agent to build me a plan for the Future PMO 2027 event. So it did the same thing. I went to the board view, assigned loads of tasks to the project manager agent, and look, it defined all of these items here. So define target audience personas. But rather than me asking somebody like Nicole, who's on the call, to do that manually, it's gone in and defined various roles or personas, certainly that we should be targeting, but it's also told us what their preferred channels are. So how should we attract or reach out to these individuals? One that I was really impressed with was to do with branding. So I had asked Copilot to create an event logo and visual identity. And if I click into that, you will see that Copilot created this, which was great. And beyond this, it also helped define branding assets. So what color palette should we use? What typography, iconography, logo concept? And you can see that the power of this is immense. The other thing that I would also point out is that it only partially completed this task, needing me to then assign the remainder of the task to a named individual within my team that would take what Copilot's created and really take it all the way to the finishing line. Now, I've not seen a prompt so far unless I've missed it, but if I go back to the Beyond Project Online schedule, this was one of the tasks that we had assigned to the agent. And if I click into this now, it's saying that I've defined a project scope and objectives for the migration from Project Online to the Wellingtone Accelerator Plus Power App, detailing key deliverables and so forth. And look, it's produced all of this. It's given us some food for thought. A scenario that I've not played out today, but does work really well, is where you might have built a schedule historically. You might ask Copilot or the project manager agent to look at it and identify any obvious gaps, any tasks that you might have omitted that it thinks you should bring into play. So hopefully that gives you an example of how immensely powerful the new Planner Premium interface is, especially when you factor in that Copilot integration. And I know that at a high level, some people might say, well, Project Desktop's got more functionality. I would ask you, how much of that functionality do you use on a day-to-day basis? Or are you just one of those individuals that wants to have that functionality on hand, just in case it, at some point needs to be used? But from our experience, organizations that have deployed the new solution, the new interface of Planner Premium, the Accelerator Plus, they found that the adoption rates are significantly higher compared to Project Online. Okay, so look, I demonstrated Copilot in the context of the individual schedule, but if I go just back to my standard homepage for the Accelerator Plus, you'll notice that I've also got Copilot capability built into this as well. And I'm not going to spend too long demonstrating this now because I do want to get back to the slides, but I'm going to ask a portfolio focus question now, and I'm going to ask Copilot to show me a list of projects that have not been updated in the last 20 days. By the way, I did misspell projects, and I've done this on purpose, I can assure you, but it's still going to understand what I'm asking. In fact, I've misspelled show as well. But look, this is the power of the Copilot. It still understands what I'm trying to ask based upon the underlying data set. And it's stating here or playing back that I had asked it to show me a list of projects that have not been updated in the last 20 days. It's listed some of them out, but I can also go to show all of them on a single page. I can also edit the columns, and one of the things I might want to display is the name of the owner. Who is the person that's managing the plan? And I can now see that information. And if this was truly a live environment, I would have Teams integration in place and I'd be able to start chatting to these individuals straight away to ask what the heck is going on with your project plan? Why has it not been updated? But we're nearing the end of the demo. I'll very quickly go into the reporting. Here's the menu of the reports. And if I click into some of these, you will see that it's a typical Power BI report. We can apply filters. We can also filter using some of the chart elements as well. And the reports are really, really wide ranging, as you can see there. One thing that I didn't signpost, but I do want to demonstrate really quickly is Teams integration. So here we've got various Teams channels established, including the project demo channel. And within this, I can see my ongoing conversation between all the team members. I can access my files. I can access my project plan. I could even embed within this the entire Accelerator Plus. So again, it's a great collaborative space, but I wanted to point out that you're not restricted to viewing your plan within a standalone browser tab within the Accelerator Plus. You can access the information through a variety of options, including Teams, which I know is a big ask for many organizations generally. Okay, I'm going to go back now to my slides and let's talk about next steps. So let's talk about implementation approaches, and this is something we can discuss in much greater detail offline. There will be organizations that have accumulated a lot of data within their existing Project Online solution, and you might want to migrate that to the Accelerator Plus, and of course you might want to bring your plans from Project Desktop into Planner Premium. We can support you with that. That is definitely an option. There will be others where Project Online was maybe implemented several years ago, and over that time it's cluttered with lots of legacy data, legacy configuration. In fact, you might not have even been involved in the deployment of Project Online in the first place, and you've not had the opportunity to stamp your identity onto the solution. So again, we can also go greenfield, and this is very much designed for organizations that want to go with a fresh start. They want to take the opportunity to clean their data set, to rethink their ways of working, their process, and they want to embed that into the new tool. And you might still do some manual migration of project artifacts, whether that's your project schedules or RAID logs. That could also be a plan. What I will say generally is if you go for a greenfield option, it tends to be more cost effective. It costs you less and it takes less time. Talking of licensing now, one of the great things with Planner Premium and the Accelerator Plus and reporting generally is that there's a significant licensing overlap with what you've already got for Project Online. So if I think about power users, oops, let me find my pen. If I think about power users here, in order to access the schedule, you need to have access to your project plan. So Project Plan 3 or Planner and Project Plan 3 as Microsoft now call it. And an easy way for you to identify if you've already got that plan is to answer a simple question. Do you have access to Project Desktop, Project Professional? If the answer to that is yes, you've already got Project Plan 3. You would need Power BI Pro for the reporting side. And again, if you can access those Power BI reports that you have today, you've already got it. In addition to that, in order to access the Accelerator Plus, you would need as a minimum Power Apps per app. That might be the additional ask, but within your organization, if you are already accessing other model-driven Power Apps, then you are fully licensed. Okay, so that's what you need as a power user. I talked about another scenario earlier. This was around team members, those individuals that are being assigned tasks within the schedule. All they need to see is what they've been assigned so that they can view it and provide progress updates back on those items, and of course receive email alerts on those topics. All they need is their M365 subscription, E1, E3, E5, and I think even Business Premium is included in that as well. And there's various other licensing options beyond this. But look, what I will say is licensing is flexible, and if you'd like to talk about that in greater detail, get in touch. We'd be more than happy to take our conversation offline and answer any questions. Now, in terms of the next steps, really simple. If you've not worked with Wellingtone before and you would like to get an understanding of what a migration might look like for you or what a high-level recommendation would be generally, you can scan the QR code and book in a 15-minute Project Online Migration Clinic with myself. These workshops or these meetings are without commitment. There's no obligation to go beyond these. It might just be the initial chat, but it'll give you a good understanding of what we can help you with in terms of next steps and what our recommended actions would be generally. Okay, so that's the 15-minute Project Online Migration Clinic. It's a great option, again, for you to get a better understanding of your options and what that might look like in terms of numbers. And for anything else, look, here are our contact details. Some of you might already be managed by Bradley, in which case, touch base with Bradley. You might be managed by Sarah. Get in touch with Sarah. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, and you probably have our email addresses already if you're already an existing client. If you're not, drop us an email to info@wellington.co.uk. And if you want a copy of the slide deck, reach out to us. We will send that out to you generally. If you're on LinkedIn, then please do follow up with us on LinkedIn. You can see the LinkedIn details there. This video, amongst many others, also appear on YouTube. So please go in and have a look at that information. Very good. I can see that the bulk of the questions within the Q&A panel have already been responded to. This is a repeat webinar. We did also run this webinar a few weeks ago. So we are in the process of compiling all the questions and providing written responses, which will be published on our website. But guys, I think that brings us to the end of this session. And I just want to thank you all for taking the time out of your busy diaries to join us this morning. It's providing some food for thought. And do book in one of the migration clinics with myself, or reach out to Bradley and Sarah if you're already engaged. And stay connected with Wellington generally. Do follow us on LinkedIn. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is where videos like this one ends up. But guys, enjoy your day ahead. And again, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.